Hey, beautiful people, welcome back. I'm your host, Pragya Malviya, and this is our little corner of the world where we keep it real about life, the struggles, the wins, and all those figure it out moments in between. Now, let's be honest, we all say that we want confidence, right? But how many times have you looked in the mirror before going out and thought, maybe I should change my outfit, or do I even belong here, or I must have washed my hair today? Or, I mean, I've had days where I'll hype myself up with a playlist and still second guess every single thing. So that's me. And then there are those random days where you just know you're unstoppable, like, yes, world have arrived. So today we are diving into this roller coaster of self-worth with the amazing Antoinette, um, international author, coach, and speaker who helps people find their worth, silence that inner critic, and step into confidence like it's their birthright. Thank you for being here, Antoinette.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have our discussion today.
That is so wonderful, and it's a pleasure to have you here. Okay, so let's start here. So, when we hear the word confidence, we picture this extroverted, spotlight loving person who never hesitates and always knows what to say. And personally, am oh I am that person who always looks forward for confidence in my life. But in real life, it isn't like that, right? For example, you can be the quietest person in a classroom or office, but you can still carry unshakable confidence in who you are, what you are, and what your opinions are, right? So tell me, what does it really look like in everyday life beyond that stereotype of being loud or of being bold, and not bashing loud and bold people, but how is it for both of these people?
Oh, I love this question so much because I am actually an introvert. I well, I'm more of an ambivert, and an ambivert is someone who is naturally introverted, but also naturally extroverted. But you can only be extroverted for a short time, and then you kind of need to go quiet and silent to recharge. So I'm one of those people that needs a lot of quiet time, alone time, outdoors time, meditation time, yoga time to recharge. So when I think of confidence, it's just a knowing. It's a knowing in every gene in your body, every cell in your body, that you are sure of who you are and how you want to show up in the world and what your boundaries are. And if you have those three things memorized in your brain and in your heart, then no one can shake your confidence. You'll never experience what they call imposter syndrome. Like, I've arrived somewhere, I've met this goal, maybe it's a relationship or a job, and then you get there, you have the thing you wanted, and now you feel like, oh goodness, I'm afraid because I don't think I belong here or deserve to be here. So the confidence is just knowing who you are, how you want to show up in the world, and not allowing, setting good boundaries and not allowing anyone to shake that inner knowing.
Mm, thank you for sharing that with us. Also, yes, I truly agree to the things that you said, and I totally get your point. Wherein it. See, my opinion is that it totally depends, and it is not at all necessary that you have to be loud and bold to feel confident with yourself and all of that, and that is also freezing, right? Also, yeah.
I think confidence sometimes can be a very lonely place because my experience is that most people don't have real, actual confidence. Some people, a lot of people have the I'll fake it until I make it confidence, meaning they're not really confident. They just project a level of confidence. And then there are people who are not confident. And so the people who have what I call fake confidence and people who are not confident, they can sometimes isolate you when you have confidence because it shakes their foundation, their personal foundation. And when they are in the presence of someone who is confident, they feel less confident. And that can cause them to sometimes shun you or to alienate you because you're light. You know, it's kind of like having a candle. If you have a candle in the daylight, and I'll equate the daylight to people who are confident by, fake it till you make it, and people who are hiding their lack of confidence, they are the daylight, right? And so in daylight, those people can not feel so insecure around you because you can't see the confident person's candle very well in the daylight, but in the dark, that's when your candle shines brightly and it can feel overwhelming to people who are insecure, who are lacking your authentic confidence. And so that can cause them to not want to be around you, to not want you to be part of whatever they're doing, to not treat you well on a work team. And it's not that you are doing anything to them, it's just your inner confidence just makes them feel less than. And that's not something you can change. So someone actually told me that it was a work colleague. She said, your life experiences as an adventure sports athlete and someone who was in the military and had lots of leadership roles and exciting challenges and accomplishments makes me feel insecure. So in a work setting, can you not talk about that because it's making me feel less secure, less confident, and my imposter syndrome is amplified when I'm around you? And my response was, I'm not going to hide my candle because you're insecure. That's just, a matter of fact. I'm not going to stop being awesome because it makes you feel insecure. That's not even a real question you should ask someone to not be good, not be great, not be exemplary, not work hard and do a good job because someone else will feel insecure if you do. That's what my employer pays me to do. They pay
That
me
is
to
so,
be
so true.
awesome.
Hmm. Yes, yes. That is so, so true. And that is empowering. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Also, okay, there is this one thing that I wanted to talk about that we've all been there, right? That you're about to give a presentation or that you're about to post something online. We think about it hundreds of times. Okay, personally, even I, whenever I'm posting a picture of myself, not just posting it like as a post, but even as a story, I think like 100 times and I ask for validation from so many different people. I used to do that, but I am in that process of, finding my own validation. So, how do we stop outsourcing our worth to other people's approval? And how do we start truly believing that I am enough for myself and that, yes, my validation is all I need?
Oh, that's so beautiful. And it's such an important lesson for people to learn. So, validation is very tricky because we are socialized by our parents to seek validation. You want mom and dad's approval, you want your aunties and uncles and grandparents' approval as you go through life and you're growing up. And then suddenly one day you're an adult and everyone expects you to stop seeking approval. And that can be very tricky because you've been raised to seek approval. But validation and seeking approval comes back to that unshakable knowing of who you are, what your boundaries are, and how you want to show up in the world. Once you know that, you don't need validation because all that I have to ask myself, all that you have to ask yourself is, am I showing up in the world as the person I want to be? And am I being my authentic self no matter what? Am I standing for the things that I say that I stand for? And am I maintaining my boundaries with compassion and kindness, but also maintaining those boundaries? And once you can say yes to those things, that's your validation. That's your way of internally knowing you are 1111 on the right path, that you are on your individual journey, not the journey someone else says you should be on. And so that's what I use as my litmus test, as my validation. If I'm standing in my core beliefs and being my authentic self, then I'm on the right path. Now, that doesn't mean people will like everything you do and say and how you show up in the world. And that's okay. If everyone likes you, chances are you are not being authentic because no one likes everyone. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes I will create a post and I'll go through my internal validation process and I'm very satisfied with that post and I'll release it and it gets, I don't know, a few hundred views. Another time I will create a post, go through my validation process and it gets 130,000 views. It's the same process. It's, similar content and all of those things, but things just hit or miss. And I don't allow that to affect my self-worth because I'm standing on my own personal validation um, litmus test, so to speak.
That was so true. And thank you for saying that because, otherwise it's like pouring water into a bucket with holes. It will never fill if the belief isn't coming from within. And, we are not, yeah, I see, I totally get your point wherein, as children, we are basically pushed into this vicious circle and cycle of validation, validation, validation. And yes, thank you for putting it out, for the people to really listen to it. And I hope somebody resonates with it and they take this point. Even I do. Also, let us talk about the biggest confidence thief of our generation, which is social media. You open Instagram, you see your friend on a Bali vacation, or someone who is looking flawless with their morning smoothie, and they have perfect hairs, their hairline is perfect, and suddenly your perfectly normal day, it feels like trash. And trust me, I have been there, and I know a lot of us have been there, and we all fall into that trap so easily. So, how can we start, scrolling without spiraling? Okay, I should twist my question. How do we separate our self worth from this never ending comparison game that we keep on playing? And yeah, what do you have to say about it? And yeah, let's talk about social media.
Oh, this is such a timely question because many happiness researchers have pointed out that social media and always seeing everyone you know and even people you don't know looking flawless, enjoying the best days of their life can make you feel like, boy, everyone's having a lot more fun, a lot more success, a lot more happiness than I am. But again, I look for my internal validation. And I'll give you an example. When I see someone who looks absolutely flawless and I start to feel a little insecure, a little envious of what they have and where they are and what they're doing, because that's the nature of social media. But then I ask myself, how much of her or his time did they have to give up that they could have been devoting to their health and wellness, to their rest, to spending quality time with their friends and family, to getting outside and adventuring? How much time did they have to give up to be that flawless? And how much stress and anxiety did they place upon themselves and everyone around them to get that perfect video or perfect photo so that they can appear perfect on social media for like 30 seconds? And then once you realize the amount of effort that it takes because real life isn't that perfect. Real life is messy. Real life is so imperfect. And so when you realize the opportunity cost to that person and to have that flawless social media post and how I'm spending that time and money on things that improve my health and improve my relationships and improve my career opportunities, then I don't feel jealous and insecure. I actually feel sorry for them that they had to sacrifice that amount of time and experience that a level of stress to have perfection.
That is so, so true. And, I love that perspective. Also, it turns social media from this toxic mirror into just a tool instead of the ruler of our self-esteems and all of our confidence. And yes, thank you for saying that. And it was so, so lovely. Also, here is where most of us stumble, which is failure. You studied all night and we still bomb the exam, or you poured your heart into a project and get rejected, or you put yourself out there and someone says no, and you've been all in for somebody, for a person, and there is this one single statement that they say that you're not enough or you're not the kind of person I want to be with. That is again subjective, but in those moments our confidence, it can really crash hard, and it takes time. It is a whole process. So how do we see failure not as proof that we're not enough, but as evidence that we're growing? And how do we handle rejections according to you?
Oh, I love this. I have one phrase: life is dukkha, life is suffering. We're not meant to have success at every turn and happiness at every turn. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to appreciate all the good things in life. You have to experience some heartache and loss, and you have to lose sometimes things that you work really hard for so that you can experience great feelings of joy when you do succeed. So, what I do is I reframe some goal that I reached for and I worked hard for and I don't meet it. Maybe they choose someone else, or someone I was in love with breaks up with me, or I didn't get the promotion. I don't think of it as a failure. I think of it as a lesson learned, an opportunity to reinvent myself or to do better next time. And by reframing what society calls failure into an opportunity that I went for, I gave it my all, I gave it 110% or more, and I didn't win this time, but look how much I grew because of it. Look how much I learned. And because I didn't get this thing that I thought I really, really wanted or needed, that opens the door for something else to come in. And in every single moment, even in my darkest, biggest losses, something beautiful, wonderful, and even better came through the door because I was open to it and I didn't sit in my sadness and wallow in the misery of so called failure. I said, well, I didn't get what I want. I can grieve for a short time. Sometimes it's minutes, sometimes it's days, sometimes it's hours. And then I open the door for another opportunity, even better, to come in. And living this way in both gratitude, openness, and accepting that life is suffering means that I'm always open and available for something good and positive to eventually come into my life.
Mhm. That is such a clear framework. And yes, I again agree with most of it. And that is so, so true. And that is again so powerful because, if failure, if it is a part of the process, then every no we hear it is just a stepping stone and not the dead end, is what we really, really need to realize. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. No is sometimes no is not yet. I have had an opportunity and I gave it my all and I didn't get it at the time. And then later, the organization that was offering the opportunity came back and said, we went with someone else. And, we were kind of split on between you and this other person. They're not doing a good job. They're no longer with us. And now we'd like to offer you the opportunity. So sometimes no can be not yet. And sometimes no is just God, the universe, whatever your belief system is telling you this is not for you. Because there have been times that,
Mm.
for example, I really wanted to be a chief executive officer of a tech company, and I achieved that goal. And then I wanted to move to a bigger company and be a CEO at an even bigger tech company. And God said no. And God said no through a very, very serious illness to the point where I didn't think I was going to survive it. But I said, God, if you give me one more day, I'm going to figure out why I'm so sick. I'm going to heal myself naturally using the traditions that I grew up with through my family because allopathic or conventional medicine was not working for me. And then I'm going to turn around and teach others. And that's why I started the New Normal Big Life podcast and blog. And so sometimes no can be, this is not for you, because the job as CEO at a larger tech firm would have made me even sicker, and maybe I would not have survived that. So I had to step back from work for about 18 months to recover. And then I was able to create a whole nother new normal. And my life now is even bigger than it was back then.
Exactly. And yes, yes, you've said it right. And okay, again, let's make it super practical that someone who is listening to this right now, maybe on their commute, maybe while doing chores, or they're thinking that I want to feel more confident, but where do I even start? So, if you could give them just one small, simple confidence exercise to try today, or something they should start with either writing or reading or analyzing about themselves. So, what is that one simple step that you would love to share with all of us?
Okay, this is exciting. Listen up, everyone. You only need to remember one thing as you start your journey to creating your new normal. And here's the one thing. Happiness researcher Sonia Lubomirsky said 40% of who you are, what you do, how healthy you are, what a great relationship you have, what a great career you have is 100% within your control. 50% is genetics, 10% is your environment, but 40% are your lifestyle choices. So, no matter what it is that you hope to improve or start or build upon in your life, whatever your new normal journey is, you only need to remember that 40% of getting yourself there is completely within your control. So start a journal, write down what your new normal will be, who will surround you, what will you do for a living, what will you do for fun, what kinds of things will you enjoy, and how will you show up in the world. And then start from there every day, adding one more thing that gets you towards that goal. So if it's changing your health, maybe you start the first day adopting a healthier diet. And then the second day, you're going to add one more step. Maybe that's drinking half your body weight in ounces of water each day. Maybe the third day, it's getting better sleep. Maybe the fourth day is learning to meditate. By the fifth day, you're adding something else, and you build on that. Next thing you know, you're already living your big life.
So, so true. And thank you, Internet, for sharing that with us, because that is something that even I will do, and I'll make sure that I reach out to you with my outcomes. Okay, thank you for sharing us and showing us that confidence is not about being perfect or never doubting yourself. It's about choosing to show up anyway and owning our worth, and giving ourselves permission to shine. And to everybody listening, remember this, that confidence is not something that you either have or don't have. It's something that you build day by day. Every time you silence that little voice of doubt and take one bold step, you're strengthening that muscle. This has been Soul Sparks with me, Pragya Malviya. Until next time, be kind to yourself, celebrate your small wins, and keep walking like the room was waiting for you. And please keep in mind whatever Internet has shared with us. That was really a great insight. And yes, please keep all of those things in mind. Thank you.